Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hosh gardeners, hello and welcome to all Radio Dawn 107.6 FM listeners and followers of Premier Institute. This is a live session today on Premier Institute YouTube and Facebook page. Please do like, subscribe and share so you're kept up to date with all our events and interviews that we do. We have a really special interview lined up for yourself today. So I hope you are joining us today. It's an exclusive interview. And it's took a while to get this going, but alhamdulillah, we are in the position where we can have this interview going. It's a very special interview. As you know, tomorrow is a very important day in the world calendar. It's World Book Day. And we have an author with us today as well to talk about her book. And I'm very excited about the book. I've had a flick through the book and that's absolutely amazing. We are going to talk about that in due course, but first of all, I do want to introduce our guest for today, who is Esra Gultakin, all the way live from Germany with us today, just for you guys, inshallah. She's an author, CBT coach, pharmacist, and artist. Need I say more? It's absolutely amazing. She's achieved a lot. Welcome to today's session, Sister Esra. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. Naser, how are you?
Alhamdulillah. Should I say Hosh Galdanas?
I'm actually amazed. It's perfect the way you pronounce it. Yes, of course. I don't know if your audience can actually speak Turkish.
We don't speak Turkish, no. Should I say, it's Naser Hussain?
Oh my God, amazing. İyiyim, teşekkür ederim. It's brilliant.
Alhamdulillah. You know what? It's because we've been watching the Ertuğrul and the Osman series on TV, and it's very popular amongst the South Asian community here. So we pick up a few sentences here and there. And hopefully our accent is not too bad either.
No, you're amazing. And Ertuğrul, if you watch that, my gosh, yeah, brilliant. Oh, thank you.
You know what? We've been trying to get one of these guys onto one of our interview sessions. I don't know if you can maybe do something, get one of the cast on to join us.
Who do you want the most? Be honest.
Do I need to say more? You know, it's probably Engin himself. So I know he's doing a series Barbarossa at the moment. So we'll probably struggle to get it, but anybody, really honest, we're fans of all of them, whether it's the men or the women. So whoever we can get, inshallah, it'd be fantastic just to get them on. Really.
Gosh, I'd love to. If I'm able to create that link, promise I will. But Engin is too busy right now, as you mentioned, he's always on set.
So no, fantastic. Yeah. So I first of all, I do want to say thank you for joining us today, because I know you're very busy and you've got a special moment in your life as well that's happening at the moment. I just want to say congratulations, because I know your sister's had a child as well, and we were worried about we might not get today's session going, but congratulations.
Thank you so much. It's a blessing. I'm so happy. It was 2 hours ago, like I mentioned. We got our princess now.
Yeah,
and I'm very relieved. But thank you so much for the invitation. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you. So just let our listeners know, our viewers as well, that you're actually Turkish origin.
Correct.
And I think you're born and raised in Germany. So if you could just tell us about your background before we move on to other things.
Yeah, as you said it correctly. I was born in Germany and I went to business school here, got married, moved to the US, and I lived in London for a while. In New York. I then moved to London, where I stayed for 14 years. And I came to Germany now to stay here for a while because my sister was pregnant and she needed my support. So looking forward to come back to London. But that's right. I'm originally from Turkey, but because I was born here, I've got both cultures. I'm quite in between.
So do you have a lot of family in Turkey? Do you go there regularly, or?
Everyone's here in this city, literally in Germany. So, because my mom was born here too. And my father was a child when he came over after the Second World War. You probably know how Turkish people came to Germany. And that's how everybody established a family. And so everyone's here, which is great. My uncles, aunties, cousins. But we still go to Turkey for trips, yes, every summer. Our favorite destination.
No, you know what? I think it's really bad, because we never paid too much attention to Turkey. But, with the introduction of the new TV series, I think it's raised a lot of interest. And now every time I meet a friend or someone I haven't seen for a long time, I said, well, we were in Turkey. We were, we went to see the sites in Turkey. We went to Basra. We went to, Jalaluddin Rumi. We went to see, his station, and we went, so a lot of people are visiting Turkey now from our community here. So I think it's fantastic, because I think it's raised that interest, and we're appreciating our history now more, you could say.
Absolutely.
So it's a lovely place. I've been there a few times myself. It's absolutely amazing, and I'm looking forward to my next visit there. Really, maybe I'll get some Turkish, the Alp costumes or something, or bring them over, and the hat, and
Ertuğrul's costumes.
yeah.
You mean? You can even order them online, Amazon.
I know. But I think it's a special occasion. It's for special occasions. When we have our archery lessons or horse riding, maybe we could put it on and
that would be so great. Inshallah, that's great.
No, fantastic. So if you could just tell us in terms of your background, because obviously you're an author, you're a CBT coach, you're a pharmacist, an artist. I don't know where to start really. I think what we're gonna have to start from is in terms of because you grew up in Germany, you've told us that, but in terms of your upbringing, in terms of your education, what your interests were as a child, and as you grew up, did you actually follow what your dream was when you were a child, or did you actually move in a different direction?
Gosh, I had so many dreams. I'm this one person, I didn't even understand it myself. I had so many different dreams. So every year I had this new dream. I would become an architect. The thing with me was I had too many skills, and that was my biggest trouble. I could draw, I could paint, I could write, I could sing, I could do so many things. So it was really hard to choose a pathway. But in the end, when I moved to London, I was like, let me work in a pharmacy for 2 weeks and see how it goes with medicine. I realized that medicine itself was too competitive and difficult for a woman, 10, 20 years of education, and it just never ending.
Yeah.
But then pharmacy was the closest thing to it. And when I was in the pharmacy, it was so great. I was like, yes, it's either this or psychology. I knew that I would fit into both. I picked pharmacy, and I don't regret it. But over the years, I realized that it wasn't enough anymore. Because, you stand in a pharmacy, it's great handing out medications, but it's just such a routine. And you just look at people, you look in their faces, and you're like, this isn't what she needs. Antidepressant, this, that. It's just making it worse. Why? You just ask them a simple question, are you okay? And they start crying, and there's something they want to tell you. And so this is how I moved into CBT life coaching. It was a great journey, very emotional.
So in terms of your occupation, are you a pharmacist or you're a CBT coach now? Or do you just mix the both?
I mix the both. I stopped working in a pharmacy for a while. I really wanted to try the psychology thing. So CBT life coach, I was so passionate about it. I was like, I need to experience myself in those situations, get a few clients and see if I'm actually able to do it. Because you have dreams, but can you actually do it? That's the real question. And so I started life coaching, where I met incredible people with inspirational real life stories. And it's all collected in here. Not all, a few actually, maybe 6 or 7. And because, CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, do you want me to expand it a little bit? Or
Yeah, go for it, yeah.
Because that means brain, cognitive. Brain means the mind, the power of the mind, and that governs your life. And so I needed to learn about the anatomy and brain structure of humans. Why? Because I had to learn about these settings and functions to have myself, first of all, under my control at all times. So, and then of course be useful to others. Because see, we have so many settings in our emotions, and you have to really know how to handle these. And so one thing that I really learned in CBT was how important it is to upgrade yourself. Upgrade, we all use these devices, phones, iPhone 8, iPhone 10, upgraded to 12 Pro Max, and it's all great. But this is how you should be as well. Don't look back thinking, how could I? It's embarrassing. No. CBT really teaches you to celebrate when you notice a change in yourself, even if the past was embarrassing. And so that progress is really, really important. Because one thing I really want to tell you is the brain, and that applies to everyone. You would relate to this. The brain tends to hold on to negative events more than positive events, right? So what it's actually really trying to tell you, there's this message saying, I've got all these weird memories, bringing up crazy emotions. I call them storms, but that's because you don't confront your past. You just collect things, you experience things, but you never really confront and name them. And the brain tells you, I cannot eliminate what I don't understand, what you don't confront. So it all builds up and builds up. And there's this client. I just want to tell you a brief thing about a client I had. She suffered compulsive cleaning. Her OCD was terrible. Okay. it really, really inhibited her progress. And she would literally wipe the clean surface 50 times a day. And one day I said, you really need to stop this. She was like, I can't. I was like, okay, do your essential cleaning, do your dishes, but just stop. And I said, the moment you feel the urge to clean and wipe a clean surface, sit down, take a minute and write down the emotion you have in that moment, the thought that falls into your mind. And so the next day we opened up her notes and I saw things like, I feel useless. I feel scared. I feel so embarrassed because I always remember my past mistakes. And so as a CBT life coach, you have to make an analysis because she's looking at you expecting for an analysis. And the analysis of that was the environment and her surroundings reflected everything that was stuck, unanalyzed in her mind. And she would suddenly see dirt and dust and clean surfaces. And that's very typical in OCD, right? So yeah, with CBT, you're able to make these analysis and help people. It's very rewarding.
Now, thank you for expanding on that. That sounded absolutely amazing. Now, what I want to ask you, it's a bit of a strange thing, but you're a pharmacist and you're a CBT life coach. Now, pharmacists, what they did, they just hand out the drugs, right? Any condition, we'll just give you a drug for it. But with a life coach, it's more sitting down with them, actually assessing their situation and trying to change the situation with emotions and words. So do you not think that contradicts being a pharmacist?
I had so much trouble when I was in a pharmacy because what the owner of that pharmacy expects from you is, give out medication and time is really important. You need to put cash on the till. And I'm that typical Pisces woman, emotional. When I look at people, I want to know how they feel. And this typical poet inside of me is always awake. Yes, there is a contradiction because especially with some medicines that you hand out, like, I don't want to be rude, but there are so many people who take medicines that they don't need. Hundreds of them. And you're like, actually 1 hour of speech could change their whole lives. And I've seen that. So yeah, I have this problem. I had it almost every day. And so I was this typical person in the pharmacy going into the consultation room with them, chatting with them for so long until somebody came and said, that's enough now, that's not your job. So I had to make a choice. And I was like, okay, then I'm going to leave pharmacy for a while and just have my CBT life coaching.
It'd be strange, isn't it? In the morning, you'll be handing out medicine to people, and then in the evening, you'll be going to them and saying, "Look, forget the medicine. Let's discuss your situation." So it's, I don't know how you manage.
Absolutely, it was terrifying. And there's a story. I don't know if we are okay with time. I would love to share it because it's in the book as well. I would love for you guys to read it. It's in the story of Reese. Can't remember the page now. There was this woman taking antidepressants, and she's doing so many tests. She's an athlete. She's having a healthy diet, doing lots of exercise, but she's terribly depressed. And there's no reason. And she's like, I don't even eat red meat. I'm taking antidepressants. I feel suicidal. Why? So now what happens is, in Germany, it's quite popular to do heavy metal tests. Have you heard of that? In UK, I think they don't do that much. They don't really take their time. So Germany's quite great for that. She was a strict pescatarian, and with certain fish, how they contain heavy metals, mercury.
Yeah.
And mercury and heavy metals usually collect in the fattiest place in the body, which is the brain. And what causes that? Do you know what the heavy metals cause? Migraines, recurrent negative thoughts, depression, suicidal thoughts.
Really?
And so she was taking antidepressants. There is a signal, bang, bang, she's unhappy. That signal is so useful, Being depressed is amazing because there is something that tells you, look, there's something going wrong in your life. Something needs changing. You take this antidepressant and you just shut it down, but does it actually solve the problem? No, it doesn't. So I actually wrote it down in great depth. Please, guys, read that. So see, you can help people with a simple test. And she doesn't need any medication. She's a perfect life, a brilliant marriage, children. Heavy metals, just get rid of them and you're fine.
Yeah.
And that's one example.
Yeah, no, well, it's interesting you mentioned that because one of the popular fishes in terms of sandwiches that we have and stuff is tuna. And if it's farmed fish, then it obviously contains a lot of mercury. So it tends to mess around people's hormones as well, especially. And I've seen and witnessed that. So I think people need to really monitor their diet. I thank you for actually raising that, because a lot of people don't pay attention to that.
Absolutely.
So when these issues like migraines happen, it's because of these heavy metals. So it's very important to have a test on heavy metals, because we always talk about having a blood test, check our vitamin levels, but we never do a metal test.
We don't. And nobody mentions it. Nobody teaches that. I don't know why. In Germany, you get to hear it a lot, but elsewhere. And there's one more thing, because we talked about tests and healthy eating. Junk food is so popular nowadays, all these ready meals. I just want to say a brief thing. Look, I just want to show you something. Actually, let me demonstrate it. Imagine this is your junk food, yeah? Fries, potato chips. What else do people eat? Because I usually cook. Just give me a few examples. Donuts?
Burgers, beef burgers.
Brilliant. Yeah, so everything that's frozen. This is your junk food. You take it in, okay? And this is what your gut tells you. Okay, so you gave me this. What the hell am I supposed to do with this? And you expect me to function and break this down into what? I'm not even programmed for this. So what I'll do, I'll store a little bit here and give you a beautiful double chin, a little bit on your arms, on your belly. And I will come back to it later tomorrow and try and figure out how I can break this thing down. That's exactly what happens in the gut. And serotonin, the main chemical that causes happiness, is produced where? In the gut. That's why people call it the second brain. It's actually the first brain, if you would ask me, the gut. It has to be clean. Guys, watch what you eat.
Wow, this is a subject on its own. I think we could have a full hour just talking about this. That's actually amazing, because these are issues we've never thought about before. And the way you've actually explained it as well, I think it makes a lot more sense. Fantastic. Absolutely. Brilliant. I think, because I know you look tired as well, and I know you're very tired, so we don't want to go into too much depth, but maybe next time we can talk more about issues like this if we have another session.
We should. Yeah.
But I think if you just move on to artists, because I know you're an artist. What are you an artist in?
An artist in? With artists, actually mean drawing, painting.
Okay.
Just show you. Have you seen my drawings in the book? I actually drew the characters.
So you actually drew these yourself?
Of course, yeah.
Okay.
I did. Oh, I'm so passionate, and it's something that goes back to my childhood. Like, this is Grace. Can you actually see it, Grace? So all these drawings are mine, and I love art. It's just so great, and it shows me how great my pineal gland, that the third eye, how good it works. When you actually look at a blank page and you see the lines before you draw them. So that actually tells you you're healthy. It's very motivating. Yeah, so when I say artist, I mean exactly that. And even this, the cover of the book is my design. So you actually see two people, two faces.
Yeah.
Two heads. Yeah.
I think you've got a lot of pictures on your Instagram page as well. And also, just for the benefit of the viewers, mashallah, you've got over 24,000 followers as well. So you've got a great following back there as well. So if anybody's interested, because when I say you're an author, you're a poet as well at the same time, isn't it?
That's right.
And poetry is something that I believe is lost in our community at the moment because of, the rapid rise of social media. So if people are interested in poems, they should check out your Instagram page to see, what kind of poetry you have. But not just that, you actually read them as well. So you actually, that's fantastic because you actually read them as well. And hopefully, inshallah, maybe in the near coming future, we can get some of your spoken word on our radio station as well, inshallah.
Inshallah, of course. We still have this great poetry community, luckily.
Yeah.
So it gives me hope. And I actually picked one poem that I would read, a very simple one later, if we have the time. But yeah, I definitely want to write more.
No, that's fantastic. So we've touched about your education and now what you're into, but we want to move on to the book now, if that's okay, because I know you've showed us the book a few times as well. So that's something that I really want to focus on today, because it's World Book Day. I think it's perfect timing that we've got you on today to talk about your book, because over the last couple of years, due to COVID, a lot of people have had time to reflect because they've been isolated, they've been at home with their families and friends. And a lot of people who used to go out and do things, all of a sudden they're isolated and they're not sure what to do anymore because they can't go out and about. So what do? So a lot of people have started reading books, not just, the Kindle, but the physical book. They've actually started getting out and start reading. And because it's World Book Day tomorrow, I think it's a fantastic opportunity for people to celebrate the fact that we've started reading physical books again. And I appreciate the fact, because I read books with my little kids as well, and it's absolutely amazing when you actually sit down with a physical book as a family together. My little one sitting on my lap, and then my boys on the other side, and we're reading each other, we're reading chapters. It's absolutely amazing. So hence the fact that you've got this book now. I've read glimpses of your book, and it's something completely different. I've not read anything like this before.
Oh,
and I think just to let the people know, it's called In the Shallows, Awaken Your Mind, and it's actually available on Amazon.
That's right.
At the moment. So if people want the physical copy of the book, they can purchase it off Amazon. And mashallah, you've got some absolutely amazing reviews, because I know at the beginning of the book you've got some reviews in terms of how your poetry and your message in the book has actually changed people's lives for the better, and that's actually amazing. And I think you mentioned something about the lady earlier on as well, in terms of the effect that it's had in terms of your work, and the fact that the message that you've got in your book, this is from my experience of reading your book, is the message that you've got in there is from your life experience, from the studies that you've done with the people, your clients or your customers, and you've put that in book format. A lot of people write books, but they'll talk about something that they've learned in theory, but you're actually a living example. And I think that's what makes it. And when I read that, I could tell that this is what you do on your day-to-day job, and you actually have a passion for it. A lot of people do it 9 to 5 and go home and forget about it, but you can see that your passion comes into the book. And it's not just poetry, but it's actually that message. You've got loads of different messages in that book: psychology, mental health, relationships. And that's why I wanted to use this opportunity, if you don't mind, because you read your poems as well and your messages, and you read it in, mashallah, in an amazing way as well. So if you don't mind, if you could read, 2 or 3 different passages. If you could read a passage with a story in it, inshallah, in your way, and then just explain to us that passage, and then we can move on to a couple more, just to give people just whet their appetite in terms of what your book contains, if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's see. I picked a few things, but just short passages, because the stories are quite long.
Yeah.
Let me check and start with a short poem that I really enjoy, especially when I thought about Ukraine and what's happening recently. But I'll tell you why I connected it to this. Now, you would think it's not even relevant, but let's see. So I'm starting now. Okay, this was written on a Sunday morning. What a beautiful Sunday. Don't ask me why it's special, because it's a very usual Sunday morning, same as last Sunday and the one before. But isn't that the beauty of it? Everyone I love is all right and still with me. I can look into their eyes and tell how much they mean to me. I'm grateful for my health that cannot be replaced by wealth. I'm grateful for all I still have, for I have enough sunlight in my pockets, enough air floating in my lungs, enough blood flowing in my veins, and enough hope kissing my dreams. It's a beautiful Sunday morning because everything is all right. But isn't that the beauty of it? A very usual and beautiful Sunday morning gave birth to these thoughts and words because everything is as it should be. And then when I thought about Ukraine and how life can change in a single day, I was like, we shouldn't really seek for adventures every single day and adrenaline. And we should stop saying I'm bored. Is sometimes just having a normal Sunday morning so beautiful because everything is as it should be and everyone's still alive. So that was one of the poems I really enjoyed writing. And there is a little story after that, but I just read the poem now. What do you think about it? Was it okay?
It's amazing. I think, the message that I see in that is life isn't as hard as people think it is to be. And sometimes it's good to just sit back and reflect and realize that, life is about living simply and enjoying the time that you have. And Ukraine is a perfect example that you've used, that overnight life could change, and then all you will feel is the regrets of the past, that I could have done this, I could have done that. So I think that's a beautiful message, really.
Should I do another one?
Yeah, Bismillah, please.
Okay, I'm starting now. So every time I stand somewhere out there in the middle of my life that holds endless choices in the form of a hand holding cards I can pick from, I feel like I'm standing on a windy shore where I allow the waves to touch my feet. I look at the sky and catch a glimpse of what looks like a hot air balloon carrying all the unselected options. I wipe away my tears and wave gently to my phantom self and a life that I will never know, one I chose not to know about, for I chose what I would rather want to live through. And I know that no matter what path I choose, a part of me will always float in the air. A life I chose not to live will always be adrift in the atmosphere. Because isn't every preference also a refusal to something or someone? What option would you rather let float away from your hands? What options have already waved a permanent goodbye? This was something I really felt. Yeah, I think you got the message, right? When you choose something, you refuse something else. We should be really careful in the choices we make in life, because you have so many options, so many pathways, and you choose one. So
what would your advice be based on that, what you just said, in terms of, because you're saying that, you know, you can be careful what you choose. So in terms of making choices, how would you suggest, you know, what advice would you give to people, you know, in terms of when they have choices, how to decide most effectively? I think it's a hard question, but
beautiful question. Beautiful.
I don't know if you have an answer for that.
Yeah, I think I would immediately start saying, tame your curiosity. It's a great tool. But some people are just curious about, oh, Kardashians or this or brands. No, I really think that curiosity is strongly linked to fate and what you choose. Be curious about yourself, about the solar system, how to plant, you know, what the soil is about, and these important things. And based on that, I think life is amazing at guiding you, because God created the system. It works perfectly. Life watches you. Do you actually work hard? Do you use the curiosity that is a blessing? Allah gave us curiosity, not for us to waste it on weird things. We forget it's actually really linked to fate, because you choose what attracts your curiosity, isn't it? So simple, I would say, tame that. And I think everyone can do this, because, let me give you an example. I think of this is a device. It's a smartphone. And imagine you're this in a biological form, in human form. And I think you have everything within you. They call, there's this Apple Store in this. I really think that we have a similar thing, but I call it Bio Skills Store. You have a store inside of you. Just download your application. Download new skills. It's all within you. You don't actually get it from somewhere. It comes. It's already inside of you. If you don't download your skills, don't blame anyone else. So I think just, did you get the message?
I like the analogies you use. It's definitely
biological apps. I really believe in that store, and I think that whatever I can do, you could do too. But if you don't try, then there's nothing I can do for you, because you have the same store. You have all the skills. Pick and choose the right applications. Don't waste.
I think it's all about how to access that store, because what it seems like is, like you said, everyone has something special. It's just you need to access it. Once you've accessed it, the whole world opens up in front of you. It's just knowing how to get to that store and how to unlock the store. I think that's what everyone's trying to find at the moment.
Absolutely. Really. And one more thing that I want people to remember is, because I think we live in a time, it's very dangerous, especially, for women, with all these Snapchats and Instagram filters, pumping lips, high cheekbones, and all about beauty, and everybody should look the same. I think it's really important we chase our uniqueness. It really is time we understand how unique we are, because look, I was born on the 4th of March. Don't worry about the year. 4th of March at 3 a.m. Okay. So I'm that exact moment of this universe, 3 a.m. of this universe, 4th of March. So there must be something unique that I bring and you don't. And I think we should really chase that uniqueness in parallel with all the similarities we have. Diversity, uniqueness. These words are being forgotten.
So happy birthday in advance then.
Thank you so much. Actually, yeah. Soon.
It's only 2 days away, isn't it? So
yeah.
We should have done it on the 4th of March then, really, shouldn't we?
We could have.
Yeah. Yeah, fantastic. So, is this your first book that you've actually done? Because I know you've got a lot of poems on your Instagram page, but is this the first compilation in terms of a book? Is this the first book that you published?
It's the first one, yeah.
So, because for a lot of people, it's getting past that first hurdle, and then they say it becomes easier after that. Now, your first hurdle is this book, although you've done poems in the past, but in terms of producing, a physical work, this is your first one. Now, can you tell us the whole process in terms of from beginning to end, in terms of how hard was it? Was it a walk in the park for you? Was there a lot of thought behind it? And how long did it take? And there's a lot of questions, but I guess if you talk about the process, all those questions will be answered at the same time.
The process was incredible. I have like one funny story that I could now tell you about this book. It took me 2 years. I could have done it in 3 months, but I had these gaps. And with me, the thing is, if you would now tell me, Esra, sit down and write a poem, I'd be like, I cannot do that. I'm waiting for the inspiration to come. In the Shallows, that title came when I was cooking. I'm always waiting for this. It came in the shallows. It comes. I don't actually sit down and think, what should I call my book? That's how it is with me. And when I feel I don't want to write and it doesn't come, I don't force it. And I remember in university, it was one of my final exams. Gosh, it was terrible. When inspiration comes, it doesn't really check if you're free. So we sat down preparing for the exam. So they gave us the exams and we turned the page. Off you go, you can start now. Solving questions, it comes. Exactly that passage that I was thinking about for days. Boom, it comes, inspiration. And the thing with me is when I ignore it, it goes, it just vanishes. So I was like, no, I cannot forget this. So I literally turned the page and I was like memorizing all the things that come to my mind, and it was huge. And after the exam, but I was sweating literally. After the exam, they collect the papers. I run. People just slowly walk and talk, and some people cry, I'm running to my bag, getting my paper, my notebook, and I'm writing down all the stuff I was trying to memorize during the exam. So one of the invigilators comes in, an old lady, I never forget her face. She started yelling at me, what are you doing? You could have at least waited until you get outside to write all the exam questions. Who are you going to send it to? I was like, oh my gosh, no, I don't do that. It's a poem. And she started like, oh, now you're lying to me as well. So I had to show her that piece of writing, and she started laughing. She was like, what is that? I was like, I'm a writer. I'm going to publish a book. And this was the section I needed for the book. So yeah, I had these weird moments. It was really tough. Sometimes you have this gap. You just can't feel it. You have to wait. Because I don't want to just write for the sake of writing. I want it to be really true and emotional and real. So it took me a while. And some pages were really hard for me. I literally started crying while it's writing. It was so emotional. I actually cried myself. So I needed a few days of break. Did I actually answer all the questions?
I think you did. That's fantastic. Yeah. I think when I asked you this question, the reason I asked them all in one go is because if you talk about the process, you'll eventually get onto that question anyway. So I think you answered them all in one go. Rather than spacing them out, I thought just asking at the same time. So no, that's fantastic. So thank you very much for that. Now, in order to purchase this book, because obviously you've given us a nice taster of what the book's about, and I think World Book Day, let's purchase another book, let's read through and let's appreciate it, because poetry is something that we want to promote a lot, because I think it's, although I know, alhamdulillah, you're doing it, there's other authors that are still doing it, but I think compared to the past, we don't have that anymore, and normally it's in other languages. Like for example, we have some presenters on Radio Dawn who are actually poets, but mainly in the Urdu language. But with your poems, they're lengthy poems in terms of they have an amazing message in there as well, which you've made it simple to understand at the same time, which I think it's a unique ability to do that. So in terms of purchasing this book, I've mentioned Amazon, but is there any other avenues you can get this book? Can you get it as a PDF or as ebook on Kindle or something?
You can. It's available as ebook as well. Yeah, absolutely. So Amazon, Kindle, yeah, ebook, absolutely.
But because I know on your Instagram page you read a lot of your poems, so are we expecting an audible version of this book, or?
I think so. I just need to find the right time, because I recently finished Write Out Your Drops, written by my friend. I think this is her book, by the way. She's author of The Catalyst. This is another great book I would recommend. But she has another book only for poems, and I'm the narrator of Write Out Your Drops. You can purchase that as well if you want to.
Which
My
was that?
book, Write Out Your Drops, written by Celine Senow
Okay.
from New York. She's a great author. So that was my first project. I wanted to try a poetry book because it's just short poems. With this book, I knew it would take me so long, but I'm happy to do it maybe next year after publishing my second book. Absolutely.
And I think the amazing thing about poetry is everybody can interpret it differently depending on their life circumstances.
Yes. And I'm sure everybody would relate to it. It's so emotional. I was crying while I was reading some of her poems, and it's fantastic.
And the fact that your book's got different messages in for different people. It's not like one topic all the way through. It's actually different messages to different people, so you can relate to everybody in that.
That's true. And I think I mentioned in the beginning, a fraction of it is a direct copy of my diary as well. I'm talking about it's one story of a child who's been having violence in his childhood and how that affected his personality later on. Adam, you probably read, it was the first story. I then suddenly switched to science and talk about 3 dimensions and why we don't understand life and where is God and why can't I see everything. So the answer to different things is all in here. I think, that's why I shouldn't be saying this as the author of this book, but I love this book. I'm still sitting down sometimes reading my own words. You wouldn't believe it. It's just so great because I know it wasn't me sometimes. I feel there was this. God has really helped me. Like I said, it came. It just came, that inspiration. And I knew there was someone trying to help me.
It's interesting you mentioned that. For example, when we were younger, we went to school, we wrote poems, we wrote something in our English class. Now, when you go back to your books, if you've kept them, you look at them and go, gosh, what did I mean by that? And then you start thinking, was that me who actually wrote it? So sometimes the biggest fan of your work is normally yourself. It's true, I believe, because you can relate to it more. And then every time you read it, it brings out a different meaning. I don't know if that's how you feel, but that's how I felt anyway. But thank you very much for that. But in terms of your current project, I know I spoke to you previously and you mentioned that, you're in the works of something else. Something else is in the pipeline at the moment. Can you give us an indication of what you got in the pipeline? What's your next project or next book?
Many of them. I have this whole mind map. I drew this mind map with my new plans and dreams. I wish it was just one. So my second book, hopefully, still hasn't got a name. Still waiting for that inspiration.
Would it be poetry again?
No, it's going to be one story, different characters. But again, I will have this psychologist in the story that will be so great, and people will just be crazy about it, I'm sure. But it's going to be a bit tough because it's a lot of science and psychology again, drama, action, people get kidnapped and all that stuff. So I'm really hoping to finish it at, within 1 year. Other than that, I have a few projects. Well, I would love to get into the film industry, not as an actress, but film producer. But I know for that, I need a very strong network, connections that I couldn't create so far. I'm writing stories. I'm not sure if I should actually say their names, but I kept it a secret. Daughter of the Pirate is one of them. There is this Daughter of the Pirate. Okay. It's an amazing thing. Sci-fi. The other one is Zona, a girl coming from a different planet and being shocked about how we misuse this world. And she's shocked because what they created over there is like paradise. And she will come here and be shocked about how we humans live. So it's amazing. I would love to find that right person to, create a beautiful Netflix movie or series. I would love to create a charity, be the owner of a charity, help people in need, animals in need. It's a typical thing. It's one of my absolute biggest dreams. But again, it needs a great social network. So I'm trying to create these now. Obviously doing more audiobooks because I really think that I have the voice that I could use to read poems and stories. Yeah,
I think in today's time anyway, I think audiobooks are very important because a lot of people in the cars driving around constantly anyway, for example, commuting in the morning or the evening. And then for myself as well, I've downloaded a lot of Kindle books and I'm always listening to, Audible books, and I'm always listening to them on the way to work. And it's like, what I always say is that I always like to read books that are read by the author themselves, because for some reason, I think because they wrote it, they can read it with that passion, that interest, which another person can't. So sometimes I see books that are read by somebody else, I tend to put them aside. I'll always look for the one where the author reading themselves, because then you can really feel the value of that book that way.
Okay. So is that common to find a book and you know the author as the narrator? Is that common? Could you actually find?
That's just my opinion in terms of what I find more interesting, because I can feel it more when it's the author reading themselves, because they know it's their book. They know how they're trying to give out that message. While if somebody else is reading, they might be misinterpreting or understanding it in a different way. So then they'll show that emotion in their voice in a different way, in a different light. So I believe when you listen to someone say something, depending on how they say it, you interpret it that way as well. So one person, if you say it in a different way to somebody else, they'll think it means something else. Then if you say it to somebody else in a different way, they'll think it means something else. So one message, but translated differently.
And are there many like authors who narrate as well? Are there like many books actually narrated by the author?
Yeah, because I've got a lot of physical books that I enjoy reading, but then when I go onto Audible, it's read by somebody else. So I'd say, oh, no, I'll leave that one aside. But then there's a book that's not, you don't think it's brilliant, but it's interesting. And then you listen to the author and you think, oh, it's absolutely fantastic.
Really?
Yeah, really. So I think, I'll be looking forward to having this book read by yourself so we can appreciate it the way it's supposed to be understood, really.
I think with this book, it has to be me. The poems and the emotions, I think no one else is going to feel it the way I did. So it has to be me. I couldn't find that person. Impossible. And with voice art, I'm this perfectionist, unfortunately. Not with everything, but voice art needs to be perfect. Or,
They're fantastic. And I know you're very busy and you're a bit tired as well, so I don't want to take too much of your time. Really appreciate you coming on today. And I hope we can have a more in-depth conversation again in the future about your projects and your work, and more in-depth in terms of your case studies and how the people that view and listen can actually truly benefit from your vast experience that you have in the different fields. And I think the fact that you're in different fields, I think it opens up horizons for other people thinking that, well, mashallah, Esra's done really well. She's a short life, she's achieved so much. I feel I could do that now as well. So I think, thank you for the messages that you've given. I think you've said them in a different way, in a unique way. And I think it adds value to that. So thank you very much for that. And we're looking forward to your second book now. Hopefully the people will purchase the first book and then that'll whet the appetite for, a follow-up, a volume 2 maybe or something.
Thank you so much for the invitation. Could I just read one last thing? Just something that I really want people to listen to, and that's the final. I really like this short passage of this. It's a huge chapter, but because I think it really is the right time to read it now.
Go for it.
It's not hard to differentiate between active and passive souls, because the energy floating in the room with active people is so high that it can activate others, like what you just said, Naser. Isn't this why we often say, you inspire me? In other words, I can feel your energy and it awakens me. Those who insist to only follow the flow will stay lost in a random part of their journey. It really hurts to see people spend a whole life on a coach, moving from one movie to another, then fall asleep and wake up to another empty day to follow the same routine. Many have lived this way until they died, yet no one knows who they could have become if they had thought of activating themselves. Are you who you're meant to be, or losing the chance to be the one you could be? I just read it because you just mentioned it. It was something that brought me to this page. SubhanAllah. Thank you so much for the invitation.
No, amazing, because that was about self-reflection. And I think it's perfect time to read it, because the last couple of years has made us self-reflect a lot more as well. So thank you for sharing that with us. I think it's amazing little piece there. And we're looking forward to the Audible book as soon as you can do that. I think the pressure is on you now, because I think now that you've got this book out, I think if you can have something like that, it'd be fantastic. And just to let the viewers and listeners know, hopefully we can work with you in terms of getting some of your content read by yourself to be played on Radio Dawn as well, too. Because there's a lot of people out there that are suffering, and we don't really, they don't really come out the shell or share their message towards. And but when they hear something like that on a radio station, which, mashallah, you're in one little box, but you're sharing that message out across the city and across the world, actually. And the fact that somebody might listen to that message and it might inspire them or change their thinking, change their mental health or, or whatever it does, then it could be something that could actually spark a change in their in their life and change it for the better. So you never know who that person is going to be. So I think even if it's one person that you can change, I think you've done a massive support, really. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That was so emotional. Just one last thing. So my editor was a professor at a university in the US.
Yeah.
And after editing, she called and said, gosh, I actually solved all my family problems. What was this? So I really hope that people read it, not because I'm the author of the book, but it really, really helps. It will open the gates in your mind.
Yeah.
It will help you organize your mental folders and reorganize your thoughts for sure. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Yeah, because I want to say, because obviously I've gone through your book, and the message is amazing, but even just as good are the reviews by the people as well, in terms of the impact it's made in their life. And really, I think you could just make a book just on the reviews, because the message that those people are giving is amazing. So, mashallah, you don't always get people who share their life work to the to the people. Sometimes they just keep it within themselves, but the fact that you're sharing and you're changing people's lives, I think that's something to be really proud of. And thank you for sharing that with us today as well.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure. It comes from the heart. And with books, especially when you work with a publishing company, we don't do this to make money. You don't even make money out of this. It's the company that takes most of the money. It's really just to share the wisdom, the knowledge. I have a message and I want everyone to take it. And I know they will. So.
Fantastic. Thank you very much again, Sister Esra. I really appreciate you coming on today. And it's been lovely speaking to you. It's been a great session. And I don't really want it to end, mashallah. We want to read more passages out of your book, but, that's just the way it is. So hopefully we can get you on again. But if not, we can share your messages across our radio platform as well.
Absolutely. Inshallah. That would be great. Thank you so much.
Just for those who are interested in your work, how can they see more about your work? You're on Instagram, which I said. Is there any other social networks that you're on that people can actually, maybe get in touch with stuff? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the best platform now is Instagram. It's esra.london. I have another private one, but I think the other one is easier for people to. I usually see the DMs. Facebook as well. Again, it's my name, Esra Gultakin, but I think use Instagram if you want to DM, have a chat, have a session or anything. Yeah, I'll pick Instagram for that.
So do you actually do like a service online as well in terms of like CBT Life Coach online as well, or is it just in face-to-face?
I do it online since COVID. I haven't met anybody, so I usually do telephone sessions, FaceTimes. Yes, I do. I just needed a short break to finish the audiobook, but I'm now back to it and very excited to meet new people and have new stories. I'm so excited.
Fantastic. So maybe when you next come to England, we can get you live on the radio station, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you so much. Thank you for the
very much.
questions.
Thank you very much for taking time out today. I will look forward to speaking to you soon.
And me, thank you so much. Take care. Thank you to the audience as well. Have a good day.
You too. Take care. Bye.